Silence in a room means nothing until the right voice walks in. Because leadership doesn't begin with money. It doesn't begin with titles. It doesn't begin with experience. It begins with how you speak, how you communicate, how your presence reshapes the room the moment you open your mouth, or the moment you choose not to. Some people talk, and everyone forgets them in 5 seconds. Others talk, and the entire room rewires itself. This audiobook is about becoming the second kind of person. Welcome to How to Talk Like a Leader. This is not a communication course. This is not a How to Sound Confident tutorial. This is a transformation, a recalibration of your voice, your presence, and your ability to influence. Because leaders are not born. They are trained through intention, through awareness, through discipline. And the very first doorway to leadership is communication. Not loud communication, not aggressive communication, aligned communication, strategic communication, leader-level communication, the kind that makes people lean in, the kind that makes people trust you, the kind that makes people follow you even if you don't ask them to. Over the next 90 minutes, you are going to learn how leaders speak so people listen instantly, how to remove verbal habits that make you sound weak, the psychology of authority and influence, how to command a room with clarity and intention, how to use silence as a tool more powerful than words, how to persuade without forcing, pushing, or begging, how to build communication habits that leaders use every single day, how to speak with calm power instead of anxious noise. And the best part? Anyone can learn this, no matter where you're starting, no matter your personality, no matter how introverted or unsure you feel today. Leadership communication is a skill, and every skill can be trained. So take a breath, slow your mind, let your shoulders drop. This audiobook is not something you listen to once. This is something you absorb, revisit, and build into the way you think and move in the world. Because when you talk like a leader, opportunities appear, doors open, people listen, and your life changes. Chapter 1. Your voice is a tool of power. Here's the truth that society never teaches clearly. Your voice is a tool, and most people use it completely wrong. They talk too much. They talk too fast. They talk emotionally instead of strategically. They talk to be heard instead of talking to create impact. A leader doesn't do that. A leader doesn't speak because they want attention. They speak because they want clarity. A leader doesn't speak to fill silence. They speak to create direction. A leader doesn't speak to impress people. They speak to move people. And this distinction, this shift, changes everything. Imagine two people giving instructions. The first person speaks quickly, with a nervous edge, over-explaining, repeating themselves, seeking approval in every sentence. The second person speaks slowly, directly, with intention, with a calm tone that signals confidence, without raising their voice, without proving anything. Which one would you follow? Which one would you trust? Which one sounds like a leader? You already know. The first rule of leadership communication: say less, mean more. Weak communicators drown in their own words. They use 30 sentences when 5 would have built trust. Why? Because they speak from insecurity, and insecurity always talks too much. You don't need more words. You need more weight in your words. The less you say, the more people pay attention to each sentence. That's why leaders don't rush. They don't ramble. They don't chase validation. They speak with precision because they've trained their mind to value clarity. over noise. Chapter 2, The Psychology of Authority. Dear friend, you are definitely on the right track if you're watching this video. Like, subscribe, and write in the comments which topic or problem concerns you the most. We promise to prepare a professional video explanation at your request. Leadership begins before you speak. People decide whether to trust you in the first 3 to 7 seconds of hearing your voice. 3 to 7 seconds, that's all. And what are they listening for? Not your grammar, not your vocabulary, not your intelligence. They are listening for certainty, calmness, control, consistency, conviction. Because we are biologically wired to follow voices that feel safe and certain. This is why leaders speak slower. Leaders pause more. Leaders use fewer filler words. Leaders breathe between ideas. Leaders project calm even when the situation is chaotic. Leaders communicate with structure instead of emotional spirals. People don't follow the smartest person in the room. They follow the person whose presence feels grounded, steady, clear. And your voice, your tone, your pacing, your rhythm is the fastest way to communicate that groundedness. Your voice reveals your mind. If your voice is rushed, your mind is rushed. If your voice is scattered, your mind is scattered. If your voice is defensive, your mind is insecure. If your voice is loud and uncontrolled, your mind is chaotic. But if your voice is calm, if your voice is measured, if your voice is intentional, people feel it, they trust it, they follow it. Because humans don't follow noise. They follow signals of stability. And leaders are stability in human form. Chapter 3, The Silence Strategy. This is one of the most misunderstood truths. Silence is a leadership tool. In fact, it's stronger than speaking. Most people fear silence. They run from it. They fill it with nervous chatter. They collapse under its pressure. But leaders use silence intentionally. They let it sit. They let it breathe. They let it shape the energy in the room. Silence, used correctly, creates respect, tension, authority, space for thought, emotional gravity, command, over the moment. When you pause before giving an answer, people lean in. When you pause after making a point, people reflect. When you pause instead of reacting, people calm down. In leadership, silence is not emptiness. Silence is power. But here's the deeper truth. You cannot use silence powerfully unless you are internally grounded. Silence exposes insecurity, and silence exposes strength. Which will it reveal in you? That depends on what you train in the coming chapters. Chapter 4, How to Talk, so people listen. Great communicators do not shout. They do not dominate. They do not fight for attention. They earn attention by speaking in ways that activate the listener's mind. Here are the 4 mechanics of leader-level speech. 1. Slow down. Fast speech communicates insecurity. Calm, steady speech communicates leadership. 2. Lower your tone. Not louder. Lower. Quiet voices with strong presence speak directly to the nervous system. People follow calm voices because they feel safe. 3. Shorten your sentences. Make ideas digestible. Cut the fluff. Speak in clean, simple, powerful blocks of meaning. 4. End your sentences with certainty. Don't rise at the end. Don't drift off. Don't soften your message. Leaders speak with period energy, not question mark energy. Chapter 5. What we'll master next. Before this first message ends, understand something. Leadership communication is not about sounding motivational. It's not about being charismatic. It's not about being perfect. It's about training your mind and your mouth to work together with intention. In the next chapters, we will go deeper into the communication habits that kill your authority, how to remove weakness from your voice instantly, how to use body language to amplify your words, how to speak with strategic emotion, not reactive emotion, how leaders give instructions, how leaders resolve conflict, how leaders command respect without demanding it. But for now, pause, breathe, absorb what you've learned so far, because the next chapter will fundamentally change how you speak tomorrow morning, and people will notice. Chapter 6, The Habits That Destroy Your Authority. Remove these immediately. If you want to talk like a leader, the first step is not adding new habits. It's eliminating the habits that weaken you every time you speak. Most people try to sound confident while holding on to the very behaviors that make them sound unsure. Today, we fix that. These are the communication habits that silently destroy your authority, even if you don't notice them. But everyone else does. And once you eliminate them, your voice will transform, your presence will rise, your words will land with more weight. Habit 1. Speaking too fast. When you rush your words, you communicate one thing: I'm not grounded. Fast speech, toss, anxious mind, slow, measured speech, controlled mind. People trust control. If you struggle with this, insert micropauses. Slow your breathing. Stop trying to impress. Speak at 70% of your natural speed. Instant authority upgrade. Habit 2. Ending sentences with uncertainty. You've heard it. I think we should maybe go with option A. I'm not sure, but maybe tomorrow would be better. We could try this, I guess. This tone, rising at the end of the sentence, weakens your message dramatically. Leaders speak in statements, not suggestions. Even when asking a question, they deliver it with clarity and calmness, not fear of being wrong. This one change changes everything. Habit 3. Over-explaining. Nothing kills authority faster than explaining your point 8 different ways. People associate over-explaining with insecurity, fear of being misunderstood, desire for approval. Low-status leaders trust that people can understand the first time. If they need clarity, they ask. Speak once. Speak clearly. Stop when you're done. Habit 4. Nervous laughter. Many people unconsciously laugh after sentences to soften the message, but leaders don't soften their message with nervous giggles. They speak and let their words stand on their own. If you struggle with this, practice silence after each statement. Silence is a stronger ending than a nervous chuckle. Habit 5. Apologizing for existing. You've heard it. Sorry, can I ask a question? Sorry, can I add something? Sorry, quick thought. Sorry if it's dumb. These micro-apologies destroy your presence. A leader never apologizes for contributing value. If you need to speak, say, I have a point. Here's my thought. Let me clarify this. Authority rises instantly. Habit 6. Filling silence because you're uncomfortable. This is the mark of a follower, not a leader. A leader lets silence breathe. They're not controlled by it. Why? Because silence is where attention grows. If you fill every quiet moment, people feel like your words don't matter. But if you speak after a moment of silence, people lock in. It signals intentionality. Habit 7. Emotion controlling your mouth. A leader's tongue is not controlled by anger, frustration, embarrassment, or fear. Before they speak, they check, am I about to react or respond? Reacting is automatic. Responding is intentional. Leaders respond. Always. Friend, write your opinion on this topic in the comments. Do you agree with us or not? I'm interested to hear your thoughts. Chapter 7. The Layered Power of Pausing. If you master only one leadership communication skill, master this: the pause. A pause is not absence, it is presence. A pause gives your ideas weight, allows others to absorb your message, projects calm confidence, creates space for reflection, stops you from rambling, prevents emotional reactions, signals that you are in control. The pause is a subtle demonstration of power. When someone speaks rapidly without pausing, they appear nervous, insecure, unprepared, emotionally uncontrolled. But when a leader speaks and pauses, everyone pays attention. 3 types of leadership pauses. 1. The pre-statement. Pause used before delivering a key sentence. Example, pause, then speak. Here's the real issue. This creates anticipation. 2. The anchor. Pause used immediately after a powerful point to let it land. Example, silence is a tool of leadership. Pause. This makes people absorb your words instead of brushing past them. 3. The control pause, used during conflict, pressure, or emotional intensity. Example, someone attacks you verbally. You pause, you breathe, then reply calmly. This shows unshakable stability. You immediately gain the psychological upper hand. Chapter 8. How leaders structure their speech. Leadership is not about sounding smart, elegant, or poetic. It's about being clear. When leaders speak, their words feel organized, not chaotic, not scattered, not random. Leaders use structured speech, the point, reason, action framework. This is how a leader communicates. 1. Make the point. Here's what we need to do. 2. Explain the reason. This is why it matters. 3. Give the action. Here's what happens next. People trust this structure because it removes confusion. Confusion is the enemy of leadership. The simplicity principle. Leaders simplify. Followers complicate. When you speak, avoid complex explanations. Remove unnecessary details. Stick to the core meaning. Make every sentence serve a purpose. Clear communication. Strong leadership. People follow what they understand. Chapter 9. How leaders convince without begging. Persuasion is not about pushing people. It's not about overpowering them. It's not about dominating the conversation. Persuasion is about speaking in a way that makes people come to the conclusion themselves. Leaders persuade by using 1. Calm certainty. People trust steady voices, not emotional ones. 2. Logic plus vision. This is what we should do, plus this is where it leads. 3. Respectful assertiveness. Not aggressive, not passive. Assertive. 4. Confidence in silence. Sometimes the most persuasive moment is the pause that follows a powerful point. Chapter 10. The next evolution of your voice. Now that you understand the mechanics, we shift into psychology, presence, energy, and influence. In the next message, you will learn why people naturally follow certain voices over others, how to command a room without trying, how leaders project confidence without speaking loudly, the emotional tone leaders use that makes people trust them, how to eliminate insecurity that leaks through your voice, the inner posture of a leader that changes everything. What comes next is deeper and more transformative. This is where you stop learning how to talk and you start becoming someone people listen to. Chapter 11. Why people listen to some voices and ignore others. Let's begin with a truth most people never realize. People don't listen to words. They listen to energy. They listen to presence. They listen to the person, not the sentence. A weak voice with great words is ignored. A strong voice with simple words is respected. Why? Because humans don't follow vocabulary. Humans follow signals. And every time you open your mouth, you send signals about your confidence, your self-belief, your emotional stability, your authority, your inner strength, your clarity, your sense of identity. Before they even interpret your words, they evaluate you. And this evaluation happens fast, within seconds. If your inner world is unstable, your voice will expose it before you say a single meaningful sentence. If your inner world is grounded, your voice will carry a weight that people trust immediately. This is why you can hear two people say the same sentence, but only one sounds like a leader. It's never the sentence, it's the state behind it. Chapter 12. The internal shift of a leader's voice. Before a leader speaks with authority, they develop a deeper internal stability. Here's the principle. Your voice cannot rise above your internal identity. You can memorize techniques, you can practice tone, you can rehearse phrases. But if your identity says, I'm not confident, I'm not important, I hope they like me, I don't want conflict, I don't want to sound stupid, your voice will reveal it. This is why the real transformation happens inside. So let's rebuild your identity from the foundation. Identity rule. Number 1, leaders don't seek approval. They project certainty. Approval seeking creates weak communication. Is that okay? What do you think? I hope this makes sense. A leader does not speak to be accepted. A leader speaks to give direction, insight, clarity, and truth. Identity. Rule number 2, leaders don't fear silence. Silence strengthens them. Most people feel insecurity when a room becomes quiet. Leaders feel power. Why? Because silence is not a threat to them. It's a tool. It's a signal that they're not in a hurry, not afraid, not unbalanced. Silence is emotional dominance in its purest form. Identity. Rule number 3. Leaders speak from conviction, not emotion. Leaders feel emotions, but their speech is not governed by them. Fear doesn't speak for them. Insecurity doesn't speak for them. Anger doesn't speak for them. Before they open their mouth, they ask, what outcome am I trying to create? Not, how do I feel right now? Or, what do they think of me? This is why their words feel intentional. Because they are. Chapter 13. The invisible charisma of a leader. There's a type of charisma leaders have that has nothing to do with jokes, charm, or big personality. It's a silent charisma, a grounded charisma, a presence that makes people lean in. So what creates this aura? 1. Emotional neutrality. Leaders do not escalate situations. They neutralize them. When others raise their voice, leaders lower theirs. When others panic, leaders remain calm. When others react, leaders respond. Neutrality in chaos is magnetic. 2. Unshakable tone. A leader's tone is steady, measured, warm but firm, calm but authoritative. They don't tremble. They don't speed up. They don't shrink their voice when challenged. A steady tone, a steady mind. People trust steady minds. 3. Micro-expressions of certainty. While speaking, leaders display relaxed eyelids, minimal unnecessary movement, controlled breathing, slight nods, still shoulders. These signals communicate, I am in control of myself, and because I control myself, I control the situation. Chapter 14. How to command a room without force. Leadership communication is not about dominating others. It's about elevating your own presence so others naturally align. Here's how leaders command a room without intimidation. 1. They speak only when they mean it. Leaders don't talk to fill space. Every sentence has a purpose. Every word has intention. This is why people listen when they speak. People instinctively sense that it matters. 2. Their body communicates more than their voice. They enter rooms with calm confidence. They look around slowly, not nervously. They stand with balanced weight. They maintain eye contact long enough to show interest, not dominance. Presence announces the leader before their voice does. 3. They control tempo. Leaders don't match the speed of the room. The room matches the speed of the leader. Slow, powerful, fast, reactive. Tempo is a form of psychological leadership. 4. They ask high-quality questions. Weak communicators give long explanations. Leaders use questions to take control, such as, what outcome are we aiming for here? What problem are we actually trying to solve? Let's clarify the priority. Questions shift the conversation. They force clarity. They expose confusion. Questions are soft power. Chapter 15. How leaders handle disrespect without losing authority. Real authority appears when you are challenged. Anyone can sound confident when everyone agrees with them. A leader's voice becomes extraordinary when tension rises. Here's how leaders handle disrespect. Skill. 1. Don't react immediately. Immediate reactions come from insecurity. Leaders don't reward disrespect with emotional responses. They pause. That pause tells everyone in the room, I am in control of myself. I will choose my response. Skill 2. Lower your voice. Never raise your voice to match someone's aggression. Raise your calmness. A lowered voice forces people to listen more closely. A lowered voice signals power. A lowered voice instantly elevates your authority. Skill 3. Reframe disrespect with clarity instead of, what's your problem? Leaders say, let's stay focused on the goal. Or, I won't continue this conversation in that tone. Or, we can discuss this but respectfully. Clarity is stronger than emotion. Skill 4. Protect your boundaries without drama. A leader does not need to argue. A leader states, firmly, calmly, directly. Example, I'm willing to discuss solutions. I'm not willing to be spoken to like that. Short, clean, final, undeniably powerful. Chapter 16, your voice is now entering its next level. You've learned the inner identity of a leader, the psychology behind their voice, how leaders command rooms, how they remain stable through conflict. In the next message, we elevate the skills even deeper. You will learn how leaders tell stories that influence people, how they use tone to create impact, how they simplify messages so people remember them, how they speak to inspire action, how they communicate vision in ways that move people emotionally. This is where your voice stops being confident and starts becoming transformational. If you appreciate our efforts and our thoughts, subscribe and like this video. We need to show the world that there are many people like us. We must always continue to improve. Chapter 17, the storytelling power of leaders. Great leaders are rarely great talkers, but they are all great storytellers. Because stories do one thing that raw information never can. They make people feel. And when people feel, they move. Data informs the mind. Emotion moves the body. That is the difference between a leader and a lecturer. Leaders understand that humans don't follow logic. They follow meaning, and meaning is delivered through stories. The psychology behind leadership storytelling. When a leader tells a story, Here's what happens. The listener's defenses drop. The brain synchronizes with the speaker. The message becomes vivid, memorable. People see themselves inside the story. The leader earns trust effortlessly. A story is not entertainment. It is influence in disguise. That is why leaders use stories when giving instructions, inspiring teams, correcting behavior, creating vision, resolving conflict, teaching lessons, motivating change. Words supply information. Stories deliver transformation. Chapter 18, The 4 Types of Stories. Every leader must master. Different stories serve different leadership functions. Here are the 4 essential story types. 1. The origin story. Here's why this matters. People don't care what you want them to do until they know why you care. The origin story communicates your journey, your values, your struggle, your transformation, and most importantly, why this mission matters to you personally. Leaders use origin stories to create emotional connection. 2. The lesson story. Here's what I learned. Leaders don't force lessons. They reveal them through experience. A lesson story shows, I was once where you are. I made mistakes. I learned something valuable. You can learn it too. People trust leaders who expose their lessons, but not their weakness. 3. The vision story. Here's what we can build together. Humans follow vision naturally. A vision story paints a future that feels real, so real that people want to move toward it. This is how leaders mobilize teams, families, communities. A vision is not a goal. A goal is small. A vision is a world. 4. The challenge story. Here's what needs to change. Leaders correct behavior without attacking identity. A challenge story shows the gap. Here's what's happening now. Here's where we need to be. Here's why it matters. Here's how we get there. People respond better to stories than criticism. Leaders use challenge stories to upgrade behavior, not shame people. Chapter 19, The Tonal Toolbox of a Leader. A leader's tone is their secret weapon. It's the part of communication that no one sees but everyone feels. Tone is 80% of leadership influence. Here are the tonal tools leaders use intentionally. 1. The anchored tone, calm, steady, unshakable. Use this tone when giving instructions, correcting behavior, leading conflict, defining boundaries. This is the voice of emotional authority. 2. The empathy tone, warm, slow, present. Use this tone when someone is struggling. You need to show understanding. A person feels ashamed, insecure, or overwhelmed. Empathy doesn't mean softness. It means connection. 3. The vision tone, expansive, inspiring, upward. Use this tone when describing the future, motivating teams, outlining goals, sparking ambition. This tone pulls people forward into possibility. 4. The precision tone, clear, direct, sharp. Use this tone when setting priorities, clarifying confusion, giving feedback, defining expectations. Precision eliminates misinterpretation. 5. The boundary tone, firm, controlled, low volume. Use this tone when someone crosses the line, disrespect appears, someone tries to manipulate you, a situation becomes emotional or chaotic. The boundary tone says, I'm unshaken, I won't engage emotionally, but I will not allow this. It changes the entire room instantly. Chapter 20. The 7 phrases that make you sound like a leader without trying. Leadership communication is not about sounding fancy. It's about sounding grounded. Here are 7 phrases leaders use that create authority without aggression. 1. Here's the goal. Leaders begin with clarity, not complaints, not rambling, not uncertainty. 2. Here's what matters most right now. This cuts through chaos and sets immediate focus. 3. Walk me through your reasoning. This phrase does two things. It exposes faulty thinking. It forces others to think critically without confrontation. 4. Let's simplify this. This signals expertise, and it relaxes everyone in the room. 5. Here's what we're not going to do. Every leader defines boundaries clearly. 6. This is fixable. Here's how we'll approach it. Calm problem-solving builds instant trust. 7. I hear you. Now let's move forward. Leaders do not let conversations spiral. They acknowledge emotion, then redirect. Chapter 21. How Leaders Speak. So people remember every word. Leaders follow one crucial rule. If people forget what you said, your words were wasted. So leaders deliberately structure their speech for retention. Technique 1. They speak in short, digestible sentences. Short sentences hit harder. Short sentences stick longer. Short sentences feel confident. Technique 2. They use mental anchors. A mental anchor is a phrase people repeat in their head later, like, silence has weight, clarity wins, calm is authority. Anchors turn communication into memory. Technique 3. They frame ideas like truths, not opinions. Not, I think maybe this could work, but this is the direction we're taking. Or, here is what the data shows. Leaders don't hope their message sticks. They deliver it as truth. Technique 4. They repeat the core message in different forms. Humans rarely grasp an idea fully on the first try. Leaders repeat the essence, not the sentence. Example: the priority is speed. We must move fast. Execution rate matters more than perfection. Momentum is king. One idea reinforced 4 times. Unforgettable. Chapter 22. The Leader Who Speaks with Purpose. You will know you are speaking like a leader when you notice 2 things. 1. People stop interrupting you. 2. People wait for your opinion before forming theirs. This is not manipulation. This is influence earned through clarity, stability, and presence. Leadership is not something you do. Leadership is something you become. And once you become it, your voice becomes a tool that shapes reality. You're not just learning to speak, you're learning to lead. In the next message, we go deeper into handling high-pressure conversations, speaking with emotional intelligence, communicating difficult truths, leading with minimal words, influencing difficult personalities. This is the chapter where your voice becomes a source of power, not force. Command presence, the leadership voice. There comes a moment in every leader's development when they realize something important, something subtle, something most people overlook for their entire lives. It's this: a leader's voice is not just sound. It's an energy, a presence, a signal, a message to the world that says, I know where I'm going. Follow me. You've probably noticed it before. Someone walks into a room. They haven't said a single word, and yet the atmosphere shifts. The air becomes still. People turn their heads. Attention moves toward them like iron toward a magnet. Why? Because human beings feel presence before they hear words. Today, this message is all about building that presence, strengthening that voice, and learning how to command attention without aggression, without force, and without noise. This is the message where you begin to embody leadership on the deepest level. Let's dive in. Chapter 23. The Power of Silence Before Speaking. If you want to speak like a leader, the first thing you must master is the moment before you speak. That tiny pause, that breath, that quiet second where you decide how you will show up. Leaders don't rush into conversations. They don't stumble into sentences. They don't talk to fill space. They speak intentionally. And intention requires a pause. People think powerful communication is about saying more. It's not. It's about removing everything unnecessary so that the necessary becomes undeniable. The best communicators don't talk a lot. They talk with weight. They use silence like a tool, not awkwardly, not nervously, but skillfully. Because silence builds anticipation, authority, focus, emotional clarity. A rushed person cannot lead. A rattled person cannot lead. A reactive person cannot lead. You want to rise into the next level of your life? Master the pause. It is the gateway between your emotions and your influence. Chapter 24. The Leader Tone. How leaders sound different. Leadership is not just what you say, it's how you say it. There is a tone that separates leaders from everyone else. You can hear it in their voice. Calm but firm, warm but grounded, slow but never hesitant, confident but never arrogant. This is what I call the leader tone. And let me be clear, every leader develops it intentionally. It doesn't happen by accident. The leader tone has 3 layers. 1. Calm authority. The secret is calmness. Real authority doesn't shout. It doesn't demand. It doesn't force compliance. When you speak calmly, especially under pressure, people feel safe around you. Your tone becomes a lighthouse in a storm. If you want others to trust you, control your voice before you attempt to control any situation. 2. Emotional neutrality. Leaders don't color their voice with unnecessary emotion. No panic, no irritation, no desperation, no insecurity. When a leader speaks, you cannot hear their anxiety, even if they feel it. You hear only direction. This doesn't mean being cold. It means being focused. Your voice should say, I understand the emotion. I'm just not ruled by it. 3. Unrushed delivery. A leader speaks slowly enough to show they're in control, but not so slowly that they lose momentum. Speed communicates weakness. Rushing communicates fear. When a leader talks, they move at the speed of clarity, not emotion. Because when you're certain, you don't sprint, you guide. Chapter 25. The I See You Principle. Here's a truth most people never understand. People listen to leaders because leaders listen to people. Not surface listening, not polite nodding, not waiting for your turn to speak. I mean real listening. The kind that makes the other person feel, I am seen, I matter. What I'm saying is important. Once someone feels that, they naturally become open to your influence. This is what I call the I See You principle. The more you can make someone feel understood, the more they allow you to guide them. Leadership is not domination. Leadership is connection. And connection starts with one simple skill. Listen like no one else listens. Here's how leaders do it differently. 1. They listen with their eyes. Most people listen with their ears. Leaders observe posture, tone changes, word choices, emotional shifts. They see what others miss. 2. They let people finish. Impatient people interrupt. Leaders allow silence so others can think. Leaders know the full story is usually behind the second sentence, not the first. 3. They reflect, not react. A leader doesn't jump to defend, doesn't attack, doesn't correct too quickly. They reflect back what they heard. So you're feeling? So what you're saying is? This creates psychological safety. the foundation of influence. 4. They listen without ego. This is the hardest part. Most people listen while subconsciously thinking, how does this make me look? What should I say next? How do I respond? Leaders remove themselves from the center. They replace ego with curiosity. Because curiosity creates understanding. Understanding creates influence. Influence creates leadership. Chapter 26, The Art of Intentional Word Selection. The average person speaks emotionally. A leader speaks intentionally. The difference is massive. Imagine two people giving feedback. One says, "You keep messing this up." The other says, "Let's break this down together so we can improve what's not working." See the difference? Tone changes everything. Word choice changes everything. Your goal as a leader is to use language that motivates, clarifies, directs, aligns, strengthens, not language that shames, confuses, pressures, divides, discourages. Leadership communication is not about sounding smart. It's about creating momentum. Great leaders choose words that build, not words that burn. Chapter 27, How Leaders Communicate Under Pressure. Pressure reveals character, but it also reveals communication. Most people collapse. Their voice shakes. They become reactive. They talk too much. They talk too fast. Leaders do the opposite. When the heat rises, leaders slow down. Their tone drops. Their sentences shorten. Their breathing stabilizes. Their mind clears. Pressure is where leaders separate themselves from the world. Here are the rules. Rule 1. Don't let urgency steal your clarity. People panic because they think fast equals effective. It doesn't. Fast is emotional. Clarity is powerful. Rule 2. Speak last. A leader who speaks last hears the full landscape. You cannot guide a situation if you don't understand it. Rule 3. Never match the energy of chaos. Someone yells, you stay calm. Someone gets emotional, you stay grounded. Chaos grows when you feed it. It dissolves when you refuse it. Rule 4. Direct people toward solutions, not problems. Leaders don't ask who's to blame. They ask, what's the next step? Problems point backwards. Solutions move forward. Leaders move forward. Chapter 28, The Frame, Don't Fight Strategy. This is one of the most powerful communication techniques a leader can master. Instead of arguing, instead of reacting, instead of defending, leaders frame the conversation. To frame means you set the direction, you define the tone, you establish the purpose, you establish the rules. It's not about controlling the other person. It's about controlling the environment of the conversation. Example, someone tries to provoke you? You don't argue, you frame. I want to understand you, but let's speak one at a time so I can fully hear what you mean. Someone tries to pressure you? You frame, I'm not making any decisions until I have all the information. Someone gets emotional? You frame, I hear your frustration. Let's take a breath and talk this through step by step. Leaders don't fight conversations. They guide them. This one shift alone can change your entire life. Chapter 29. When a leader needs to be direct. Let me be very clear. Leaders are not always soft. Leaders are not always gentle. Leaders are not always calm. Sometimes leadership requires sharp clarity, not aggression, clarity. Sometimes you must say, no, that's not acceptable. We're not doing it that way. That crosses the line. This needs to change. Directness is not cruelty. It is responsibility. A leader who avoids confrontation cannot lead. A leader who fears hurting feelings cannot lead. A leader who dilutes the truth cannot lead. People respect clarity more than they respect comfort. You must master both compassion and firmness. Switch between them as the situation demands. Leadership is both sword and shield. Dear viewer, please write in the comments what interested you most in the video. This will help us improve our videos. Chapter 30, Your Words Create Culture. Whether you're leading a business, a team, a family, or yourself, remember this. Your words become the culture people live in. If you speak fear, people freeze. If you speak doubt, people hesitate. If you speak negativity, people shrink. If you speak blame, people hide. But if you speak possibility, strength, direction, gratitude, belief, clarity, people rise. Communication is not a skill. It is an environment. Leaders build environments with their words. Chapter 31. The most underrated leadership. Skill. Stillness. Stillness is power in a world addicted to noise. When everyone else is rushing, reacting, jumping, filling silence with nervous chatter, the leader is calm, quiet, grounded, measured. People follow calm minds because calm minds look like they know where they're going. Here's the truth. Every room has a nervous person. Every room has a loud person. Every room has a fidgety person. But very few rooms have a still person. Stillness separates you instantly. Stillness sends a signal. Nothing here intimidates me. Nothing here pressures me. I am in control of myself. That alone earns respect. How to practice stillness every day. Slow your breathing by 20%. Pause 1 second before answering any question. Keep your body stable, not restless. Move deliberately, not reactively. Let others finish speaking fully before you reply. Small things. But they add up to leadership energy, and here's the secret you won't hear anywhere else. Leaders aren't confident because they have answers. They're confident because they trust themselves even when they don't. That's the power of stillness. Chapter 32. The way you look at people changes how they listen to you. Eye contact is not about staring, it's about anchoring. Poor communicators dart their eyes everywhere because their mind is scattered. Leaders hold eye contact just long enough to make someone feel, I see you, you matter, I'm present. Too little eye contact, crass insecure. Too much, harsh aggressive. The balance, harsh influence. The 3-second rule, look at them for 3 seconds after you finish speaking. This shows confidence, and it silently tells the room, I expect what I said to be heard. Great leaders use eye contact as punctuation. It's the full stop at the end of a sentence, not a threat, not a dominance move. Simply presence. Chapter 33. Your posture is your first speech. If your words are the message, your posture is the microphone. You can say the most intelligent sentence in the world. If your shoulders are slouched and your spine is collapsed, the message loses half its power. You want to know why powerful people look powerful? Because they hold themselves like someone who believes in their own worth. Leaders sit like this, spine straight, chest open, chin relaxed, shoulders grounded, hands still. This posture says, I'm not hiding, I'm not shrinking, I belong here. Leadership posture is not about looking big, it's about looking whole. A collapsed posture shrinks your presence. An attentive posture expands it. Your posture tells people how to treat you before you say a single word. Chapter 34. The Power of Economy. Say less, mean more. Leaders don't try to say everything. They try to say what matters. Excess words dilute your message. Precise words sharpen it. Here's the hard truth. You sound more authoritative when you stop trying to explain everything. People respect clarity more than quantity. Practice this simple rule. If a sentence can be said in fewer words, say it in fewer words. Remove the like. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Basically. Kinda. Sort of. Just. These fillers kill authority. Leaders speak in completed thoughts, not half phrases floating in nervous air. You don't need to sound perfect. You just need to sound intentional. Chapter 35. The Leader's Tone and Why It Matters More Than Words. Your tone carries 70% of your message. Your words carry the rest. You can say something brilliant with a weak tone, and people will ignore it. You can say something simple with a strong tone, and people will remember it. The leader's tone is warm but grounded, calm but firm, slow but decisive, open but confident, steady but adaptable. And here's the magical thing. Tone reveals self-trust. People hear whether you trust what you're saying. If you do, they follow. If you don't, they drift. To train your leadership tone, 1. Lower your voice slightly when making important points. 2. Pause after key statements. 3. Speak 10% slower than you think you need to. 4. Let your tone drop at the end of sentences. No upward question tone unless you're actually asking. Leaders don't sound uncertain unless they choose to. Chapter 36. How Leaders Handle Interruptions. This is where real authority is tested. Most people collapse or overreact when interrupted. Leaders do neither. They remain calm. They remain patient. And most importantly, they remain in control of themselves. When someone interrupts you, stop speaking, turn your head slowly, give them a calm glance. Let them finish one sentence. Then say, "I'll continue," and resume speaking. No anger, no insecurity, no ego, just steady authority. This silent message is incredibly powerful. I decide how I respond, not you. That's leadership. Chapter 37. The reason people listen to some leaders and ignore others. Here's the truth that everyone feels, but nobody says. People don't follow the best thinkers. They follow the best communicators. The people with the biggest impact are not necessarily the people with the highest IQ. They're the people who learned how to express their ideas so clearly, calmly, and confidently that others naturally align with them. Human psychology is simple. We follow clarity. We follow stability. We follow presence. We follow someone who looks like they know what they're doing. Leadership communication is not a trick. It's a responsibility. When you speak like a leader, people around you rise. They become braver. They become clearer. They become stronger because your communication becomes a source of direction. That's the impact you're building right now. Chapter 38. Silence, the secret weapon of real leaders. Silence is not emptiness. Silence is awareness. Silence is composure. Silence is strategy. Silence is confidence. Silence is strength. Powerful communicators know that silence creates tension, demands attention, gives weight to words, makes people lean in, signals certainty, shows discipline. Weak communicators fear silence. Leaders use it. Pause before answering. Pause before disagreeing. Pause before making a decision. Pause before delivering the key message. Silence tells the room, I am not rushed. I am not intimidated. I control the pace. That's leadership. And now, we step into the part of the audiobook where we tie these communication skills to real-world authority, respect, and influence. This next section will change how you carry yourself for the rest of your life. take a breath, reset, get ready, because what comes next is the moment everything clicks. Chapter 39. Respect begins before you open your mouth. Here's a truth people don't like to admit. Respect is decided before you ever speak. By your presence, by your energy, by your clarity, by your intentionality. People form opinions in seconds, and leaders understand this, so they prepare themselves before they walk into any environment. They adjust their posture. They settle their breathing. They set an internal intention. They walk in with purpose, not hesitation. Leaders don't hope people respect them. They create an atmosphere that earns it. You've probably met people who spoke softly, yet instantly seemed important. Or people who had an air of certainty, even with minimal words. That's the silent authority you're developing. Chapter 40. How to project strength without aggression. Many people confuse leadership with dominance, but dominance is lazy. It's a shortcut used by people who lack real influence. Leadership is strength without intimidation, clarity without hostility, firmness without aggression. A leader communicates, "I don't need to overpower you because I'm already grounded in who I am." That energy is rare, and rare is respected. So how do you project strength without being overbearing? 1. Use a controlled tone, not loud, not soft, just steady. 2. Keep your face calm, no twitching, no exaggerated reactions. 3. Maintain eye contact without challenging. Look at them, not through them. 4. Stand or sit tall without puffing your chest, confidence, not performance. 5. Speak with clear beginnings and endings. Leaders finish their thoughts. Do these consistently and people will instinctively respond to you with seriousness. Chapter 41. The rule of no excess energy. One thing your competitors do wrong, especially in leadership roles, is they leak energy everywhere, fidgeting, overlapping, nervous explanations, extra movements, talking just to fill silence. Leaders have something different, economy of energy. They don't waste gestures. They don't overreact. They don't speak unnecessarily. They don't mirror chaos around them. Their stillness creates gravity, and gravity pulls attention toward them. Think of people you admire. Their presence is contained, stable, purposeful. When you eliminate excess energy, your presence becomes magnetic. Chapter 42. Listening like a leader, not like the average person. Average people listen to reply. Leaders listen to understand. Average people listen to defend. Leaders listen to gain clarity. Average people listen while thinking about themselves. Leaders listen while observing the entire situation. Here's what leader-level listening looks like. 1. You give full attention. No half-listening, no glancing at your phone. 2. You absorb the emotion, not just the words. A leader hears what isn't being said. 3. You wait 2 seconds after they finish, commanding the room without commanding anyone. One of the biggest mistakes people make is thinking leadership means controlling others. It doesn't. Leadership means directing the energy, not the individuals. When you walk into a room, you're not there to dominate. You're there to stabilize. You're there to be the calm in chaos. You're there to be the clarity in confusion. You're there to be the grounded presence that says, "Everyone, take a breath. We're going to figure this out." Notice something. A leader doesn't need volume. A leader needs gravity. Gravity comes from certainty. Certainty comes from self-control. Self-control comes from preparation. Preparation comes from discipline. And discipline? That's built long before the crisis ever shows up. This is why people look at great leaders and say, how do they stay so calm? How do they speak so clearly? Simple. They practiced for this moment long before it arrived. They trained their voice. They trained their breathing. They trained their emotional responses. They trained their thoughts. They trained until pressure no longer dictated their behavior. That's how you command the room without commanding the people. You don't speak to overpower. You speak to anchor. Final words. The voice that leads. You've come to the end of this audiobook, but you stand at the beginning of your own leadership voice. From this point forward, remember this. You do not talk like a leader by mimicking one. You talk like a leader by becoming one. With your stability, with your clarity, with your purpose, with your presence, with your mission, with your silence, with your honesty, with your self-control, with your courage. And from this foundation, your voice will transform every room it enters, not because it is loud, not because it is polished, not because it seeks attention, but because it is aligned, intentional, grounded, and powerful. Your voice is your leadership, and your leadership begins the moment you decide to live it. If this audiobook resonated with you, share the line that hit you the hardest and tell me what topic you want the next audiobook to be.